Today on the podcast, we have Kayci Vandegrift. 47-year-old Kayci has used cannabis in some form since she was about 13. She eventually turned to sobriety. Kayci had been totally abstinent for years. That's when back and neck pain came along. Then the introduction of prescription pain medication. Then the day came when she could no longer supply her habit. She was forced to change in order to survive. Kayci decided to quit cold turkey and was sick for 40 days. Then came the diagnosis of breast cancer. Kayci, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me, you guys. I appreciate you asking me.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show, Kayci.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. And I know that we have talked before a couple of times, and I know that you've spoken with Josh a couple of times, but I really want to dive into your story because it's interesting to me. The 13-year-old start was instantly an interest to me because on a personal level, I had a 13-year-old start. And not many people know that. Not even a lot of my family members know that. But that really struck me, and I want to go there. So, can you?
Okay. Yeah. So, well, to be perfectly honest, at the time, I was living a little on the wild side when I was even just 13 years old, and somehow I had managed to get my mom to let me and my sister go with a church friend to Padre Island. And while we were there, acting way older than we were, I was raped. And I was only 13. And so for me, when I came back from that experience, I was different. And I didn't really look at it as rape at the time because I was kind of sexually promiscuous, even though I was a virgin. You know what I mean? This person was way older. And so I was looking for any form of escape originally. That's kind of how that all started. I mean, it was alcohol, smoking, and sex all at the same time.
Right.
And so that was, I just went into it kind of like that. One thing that I know about myself and that I understand today is the very first time I did have a drink, straight up, I was an alcoholic. Like, I never could fill the hole, not even from the very first time. I would... I just couldn't get that satisfied. And that went on for a lot of my young life. I went to treatment the first time when I was 18, and I ended up going 5 times. So that's a lot of treatment in a short amount of years. I took my daughter through it all with me, and eventually I did get sober from alcohol. I just had totally accepted that I'll never be able to satisfy this, and it's only getting worse.
When was
During
that?
That time, I was.
What age was it?
Just. I mean, I have to tell you, at 18, I did a hit and run accident, and I didn't even remember hitting the guy that I hit. When the cops pulled me over, they said, "Ma'am, did you just have an accident, and did you drive away?" And I said, honestly, in my mind, no. And he said, "Ma'am, your car is crashed up." So that was at 18. And if you can imagine, after how I told you things started for me, I just was really deep in the escape. Whatever manner I could find it, I did, Anyway, so let's see.
At that point, you were kind of in survival mode, is what you're talking about.
Totally. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Right.
I mean, it was like, that's how I operated for a lot of years. And truthfully, that's probably how I survived a lot of years.
Yeah.
But,
want to go ahead and talk about whenever you decided to become sober?
I do, yes. And that was April 17th, 2005. Yeah. So that was... obviously it was a terrible day for me, but it was also a huge day for me. I got really involved in AA at that time, and I did not use any medication be it alcohol or pills or weed or anything, for 5 years. This is when that started.
Cold turkey.
Yeah.
Right.
So once I got sober in 2005, and I have to tell you, I mean, my life at the time was truly shit. It was terrible. But I had come to an understanding. I'd taken a look at myself enough to know that I truly, deeply was addicted. And I have an addictive personality. That's just the bottom line. You know, I know that about myself. So next came, I started having this chronic neck pain, and I was doing really good in sobriety. I was speaking in Oklahoma City at the different conferences, and just really, I'd had 5 awesome years. And then this neck pain just would not stop, and it became, well, it totally took over my life, basically. It was all I could think about because, I mean, you know, my head's attached to it, so it's just a lot to carry around. And at about that time, I had started seeing pain management. Now, I had already been to the chiropractor, the physical therapist, the massage, the acupuncture. If it could be done without having to do surgery, I had
tried
done
it. Sure.
More than once. Yes, more than once. This was chronic, and honestly, it took away my zest for life. I mean, it was so bad for so long, and I know that a lot of people suffer from this, and that's why I want to say this, is because I know what chronic pain can do to people. You know, it changes people, and the worst part of it is when you have something that people can't see, then they always expect you to be, well, fine, you know, good, you look good, you must feel good. And it creates a real cynicism in somebody like me, you know, and it just turns me from somebody who was a carrier of light to somebody who was dark. You know what I mean? Dark.
Yeah.
So that was when also the pain pills came into my life. And, you know, I originally tried not to take pain pills. I tried to take everything else. And I even started taking them originally only because the doctor at the time prescribed me something that would, like, kind of block the effect of the pain pill as far as the enjoyment factor, the dopamine receptors, right. I guess. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and so I felt like that would be safer or better. But the truth is, you know, years into that, up into the surgery, which I ended up having 3 levels on my neck fixed at once. So I had 2 discs replaced and 1 fused. And of course, lots of pills involved there, but over the years, here's what ends up happening, and here's what ended up happening. Even though I knew, I mean, I have a history in my family of kidney disease, liver disease, whatever. I just knew that the addiction that I had gotten with these pain pills, it was no longer making the pain go away at all. And honestly, I'm sure that it contributed to more pain, mm-hmm. because I feel 100% that, you know, when I would take those pain pills like that, of course, my liver and kidneys are dying, but all of my joints would get really swollen and painful. So my neck, my everything, I don't even know how else to say it, but, you know, no longer did any pain pill take away the pain. Now it only was keeping me from getting sick. And yes. That became my whole reason for taking it, was just to keep that away. You know, but the sad part is I was still suffering in so much pain. And I have to tell you, the day came when I did get off of those cold turkey, and it wasn't of my own doing, let me tell you. It's not, you never go, today I just want to get off those pain pills cold turkey and go through hell.
Yeah, right. Yes, especially as long as you've been taking them, sure.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, and I was taking a lot of them, and the strongest you can get and all that. Just as all people who abuse things like to do. But, yeah, so the day came when all the sources dried up. You know what I mean? I couldn't get one more pill that day.
Rock bottom.
Right.
I could get it 5 days later, but not that day. And I thought, well, shit, 5 days later, hell, I'm already 5 days out. I just have to say, I'm sticking with it. I'm going to do it. And that's what I did. And it went on for around 40 days. I mean, day after day after day, I was just sick. I lost a ton of weight. But ultimately, I got that shit out of my system. I got those poisons out of my system.
Good for you.
And
absolutely.
Yeah, as amazing and wonderful as that was, it left me with a sense of a dopamine deficiency. Honestly, that's the way I call it. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but I'm really intuitive with my own body. And when it comes to things like pleasure receptors, I'm pretty attuned to that sort of thing. And I just felt like after I had gotten off those pills that they were stripped dry. There was nothing there to refill them. Mm-hmm. I was just left with a sense of emptiness.
Now, did you feel that whenever you were on the pills? Oh.
Well, I mean, honestly, for years, no, I didn't. Now, I can't say that I didn't, but I can say that the pills definitely masked a lot. They did, because for me, they never made me tired, no matter how many I took, And so, obviously there would have been issues to work through, because if you have a hole, you have a hole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, no pill is going to fix that. So, but yeah, that was still all in the process of trying to find myself and also understand what my recovery was and is, based on the fact that, I had found myself addicted to pain pills in that time. But, this is where I do believe 100% to thine own self be true, because I have to tell you, I got off those pills and I'm free of that demon, but I have never had a drink since April 17th of 2005. Not once, never.
That's awesome.
And
good for you.
I have to say that, yes, that has allowed me to really explore real medical options for me that work, something that I always have known that has worked or made me feel better just on every level. I don't know how else to describe it, but on every level as cannabis. So, after coming off of those pain pills and feeling that feeling for about a year, I was struggling. I would tell my doctor, man, I don't feel good. I don't feel right. I don't feel joy when other people seem to feel joy. It was
hollow.
Like that. Yes, just and just in their presence, but not there at all. So, that's when I started picking it up a little bit, and it wasn't legal at the time, which, for me it was a hassle, honestly, more than anything else. Trying to locate my medicine became difficult, and not the way that I'd like to go about it as far as locating it, and definitely not the reliability factor that I'm looking for. And so it wasn't all that long after, though, they did pass the law, the medical law. And now I want to go back just 1 second, though, and say when I started smoking, even just before it was legal, just whatever, the first time I felt that immediate sense of, that I still feel to this day, sense of relief, like comfortable in my skin, which is a feeling that I strive for, and that's what cannabis does for me. It helps me be honest with who I am. It helps me feel my feelings. It helps me say my truth. It helps me tolerate other people. It helps me tolerate myself.
You're present. We've used this word so many times, and it is. And for someone, I think I speak for James and myself too, someone dealing with sobriety and struggling with that, being present is the best weapon that we have.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And not being present can be very detrimental.
Well, whenever we're unable to see our truths in ourselves and unable to actually understand our faults then we are blinded. I mean,
right.
And so this is a very eye-opening medicine.
Oh man, I'm saying it is. And I think too what's amazing is the opportunity. I'm so glad that we are medical here in Oklahoma, because I was just recently in Colorado, and the entire experience was totally different. I mean, there's no medical talk at all, up there, unless you really work hard to get to it. I really appreciate here that I don't know how it is every place. I'm not traveling around and visiting every place, but I know the places that I go, the people are educated. I enjoy talking with them, going back and forth about what we know and what we've learned and our experiences on cannabis, how it helps us, and also how it helps, my partner is not comfortable at all with the feeling of high or euphoria in any way, shape, or form. Okay, this is the exact opposite of my entire life.
Right. And
also never had an addiction in her life either, which is astonishing to see. But, let's see. Oh, yeah, her tolerance. So, yeah, she hates that feeling, but she does have pain. She's an athlete, and she has a lot of old injuries. And one thing that she told me that I'll never forget is, I do not want the euphoria, but I absolutely love the consistent, reliable pain relief, and that it's not affecting her other organs in a negative way. I mean, she said it's the one thing that I can count on to actually make my pain go away every time.
Right.
But it's tricky with the dosing on somebody who hasn't experienced it much, or
it's
not comfortable with that feeling.
It's definitely on a personal level.
Yes,
that's for sure. So let's continue on with your timeline a little bit. So after this, then you started noticing some other changes, correct?
As far as which
medically,
with me?
Yes.
Well, one thing I know for sure is that I've been able to take it in different ways, which I think is really important. Because back in the day when I didn't have a choice, it was only smoke, and I've never been a smoker of anything, cigarettes or anything, and that just would not be my primary. And so being able to utilize different methods of intake is critical.
Yes, absolutely. And so you're able to mix that with your medications that you have going along now with your, are you on any kind of medication? Oh, you had the breast cancer. Can you go into that, please?
Yes, so I did. I did get a breast cancer diagnosis, and I was aggressive, and I had a double mastectomy, and then I had an extensive reconstruction surgery, which was like a big 8.5-hour surgery. So when I came out of that, I didn't have to do chemo or radiation or anything because I was aggressive with it. I caught it early, and I went for it,
That's good.
So I was super grateful for that. And that was part of what helped me make that decision to go that way, is because I wouldn't have to take those poisons. And I know that those are also lifesavers, but it's harsh, and I know that. I've seen it, and I was really grateful not to have to do that. So
you're really grateful to not have to try to heal yourself with something that is poison.
Right. Yes, exactly.
And that is not downplaying anything. It's a very serious thing, and so
right.
All right.
Agreed. Yeah. So
but essentially what you're saying is, to me, from what I hear, is it helped you make that decision. It helped you be present within yourself. Yeah. You had that choice.
And not only that, but to persevere, because let me tell you, it gets really difficult when the doctors are telling you something that doesn't coincide with what my body is telling me. Mm-hmm. It's really, really, it was critical for me to be able to be present and be an advocate for myself, because I had to be, I mean, truthfully, and that's what we have to be. And,
yes.
Yeah, I mean, without it, man, I don't know about navigating. You know, it's interesting because I've always dealt with anxiety. I've always dealt with, you know, just energy when I'm around a lot of people. And cannabis is, you know, it helps me so much just level, you know, get grounded and be able to actually be available for people if they need me, and, you know, to be open to have, you know, some sort of a relationship or something, because I have to tell you, in those years when I was in all that pain, man, I wasn't having it. I was closed off.
Right.
You know?
Right. Well, and to kind of back up a little bit now, on your post-op recovery, did you have to, I mean, you know, dealing with your sobriety and everything, were you using pain meds after?
So during that time, I was using pain meds, but this time I only had one prescription. I only had to get it. It was just the first time. I also had my partner just give them to me. I mean, I could not get out. I had 6 drains. I couldn't hardly move or get out of my bed. So to do, you know, and if I'm not mistaken, this is definitely before it was legal. So the edible option, anything other than smoking, was not an option. So, and there was no way, you know, that wasn't an option.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I did have to take them, but when you are in such a level of pain and you take a pain pill, it does not give you any euphoria.
Right.
It actually, hopefully, buffers a little bit of the pain. And unlike the chronic pain, this was an acute pain, which I think it's much more effective for.
Mm-hmm. Well, too, and I think every time you enter, what I kind of hear is every time you enter another battle, you're also armed with experience from your past battles.
Man, you've got it. You said it. And that's so important. You know what? The only person I have to be honest with is myself.
Got it.
That's the truth. Because the reality is, you know, we know when we're abusing something. We know.
Yes, we do.
Well, honesty for people around us doesn't exist unless we're honest with ourselves anyway.
It's so interesting that you've brought this up, because I had this conversation just the other day with myself while I was driving down the road. Sorry, I do that sometimes. But no, it is. You look at something and throughout your life, you get into these routines. And so people are okay with it. You're okay with it. It's fun. It's comfortable. It's something that you have to do. It's your A, B, and C to the end.
Sure.
You know, and whenever you are an addict, and I don't want to speak for all addicts, if you were like me in my brain, I have to look at that and be able to talk myself into,
I guess lack of better terms, talking ourselves into those healthier habits. Getting, because for us, I think, kind of what James was touching on is, for an addict, habits are good and bad. And it's one of those that we have to recognize early on, is this something good that we're falling into a rut with? Is this something bad that we're falling? So much more proactive. And, we've touched on it on the show here. If we can stay ahead of our problems, that's our best weapon in our arsenal.
And I have to tell you, yes, you're so right. And the brain is where a lot of this shit starts. And so it's also where a lot of the miracles start, right? It's like what we focus on, is exactly what we're going to create more of, right?
Right. You're willing it almost to come about, or however you want to look at that. But, again, I think, cannabis or sobriety, I know sometimes it's weird because people don't think that they do go hand in hand, but this show has been a testament of how often it does go hand in hand.
And how important also it is. And how important it is.
And that effect of being present helps with sobriety. It helps with staying sober, and it keeps us sharp.
It helps us from becoming and staying that sponge that we've allowed ourselves to be in life. And that is taking in and absorbing in that comfort from just being what you feel that you're supposed to be.
Right.
And then once you wake up and people talk about, you want to say woke or whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about cannabis and how it's helped. And it has hyper focused you to be able to squeeze that sponge and get that dirty water out of you and be able to live a cleaner life and make better choices.
Sure.
For yourself. Yes, and which ultimately is better for everybody.
Absolutely. Yep. I could
not agree more.
Well, and the thing, we've talked about on here too is derivatives of cannabis. And what I love is cannabis is one of those holistic applications, medications, whatever you want to call it, that, not only we see the benefit of, but people around us see the benefit of. And it's one of the few things that we medicate with, in my opinion, that you can say that about. That you can truly say that about.
And too, there are methods to doing it where like when I would see people come in with, you name the health issues, people have them, no doubt about it. And to see the range of benefits that cannabis would provide and does provide for people of all ages. Our top demographic where I was working was, 70s, 80s, even into the 90s.
A lot of places are that way.
Yes, and those people are looking for good direction, and they need good, trusted direction.
Well, and they've been on the other and they've been on the other side of pharmaceuticals and things like that for a long time. They are truly coming in looking for something different because they know what the other side of the coin has given them.
Well, that's true. And I have to tell you, too, it's like a lot of these same people would not consider it while it was not legal. And I completely understand that. The hassle of obtaining it all by itself, not even talking about the law, was enough to make a lot of, especially anybody of older, status. So I have just been so pleased to see the huge range of ages and demographics, and how too, the creams and the different methods of application, how many people can use that.
Sure.
It's amazing.
Sure. And at the end of the day, I think what we all kind of agree on is it's creating another choice. And if it's our health, then it's our choice and it's our decision. And if that's a choice for us and it's a healthy choice with not a long list of side effects, but with a long list of results, I want that to be a choice of mine.
Absolutely.
So, cannabis to me also is a lot about taking our health back. I agree. Putting it in our hands that, we can all come, and that includes my wife, my kids, myself, and my doctor, come up with a regimen for me. But it is not just your choice, sir. It is a collective choice of my family, who I have to answer to. That is my tribe that I have to go home to every day. So
that's right.
And everybody again is different on that level. I'm sorry. We can all get into our own personal stories, but I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. It is our whole choice of our family and whatever our family situations are, and that's who we need to be talking to. And if you have someone higher above that you want to talk to as well, you need to include this holistically on all levels.
Yeah, definitely.
Diet, meds, all of it.
Yep.
I'm sitting here preaching this, and Josh is looking at me because I fell off the wagon. I didn't fall off the wagon alcohol-wise. I'm sorry. Oh, my gosh. Did I just say that? I'll never do that.
I started looking at him weird.
No.
I was like, what hasn't he told me?
No. Just diet-wise and things like that, and oils, and I got off of those, and you can really tell the difference. I mean, I just not doing well, and all of that. So you have to remember, guys out there that are in this cannabis family and this cannabis world, that you do need to practice what you preach, and I do as well. So, and I'm understanding that right now.
Sure. To be your own advocate too when it comes to medically. I mean, if you don't have a doctor who supports you and your desire to understand cannabis better,
right,
then it's probably time to find a different doctor. That's okay.
Sure.
The doctor has worked up to this point, but now when we take our own lives into our own hands and do what's right for us, then that looks like this. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, yeah, I think that's critical.
And that's something I personally that I look forward to seeing more and more of is an interaction between pharmaceutical world and that holistic world, because honestly, and we've had it on the show, there are a million different amazing stories of how those two things can work in tandem with each other.
Yeah.
So I know that sometimes it can come off as we're bashing modern medicine, or myself personally. I guess I'll speak for myself, but I believe in the benefits of both sides of it. What I advocate for is just being able to have that cannabis as part of the conversation.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, because, what's out there medically is amazing. No doubt about that.
Absolutely.
But having this, included is critical, too. And that's, for me, that's truthfully how I'm able just to... I mean, it levels me. I keep it in my system all the time through edibles and like we had said, and just a level, good place to be, really great place to be. It's where I want to be, not on the train that I used to ride, the one.
Right, but on that end, do you mind going into kind of your daily routine as far as your medicine?
Oh, wow. So, well, I mean, I don't have anything, set or scheduled. I just go basically on how I feel. But over a period of time, that has leveled off to be consistent. So, so I start the day with a half or a whole 50 milligram edible. And I might take a couple dabs with my straw, or I might just hit the vape a couple times. That's kind of just how I start my day. I mean, nothing too heavy, Throughout the day, I have to say the edible has changed my life, though, because that eliminates my need to medicate as often. Mm-hmm. So that's really helpful in my day. I don't have to keep going back to it. It's taken care of. I just feel satisfied and medicated just like I need to be. So now as it wanes, of course, in the afternoon, I do the same thing. Basically, I have the same little routine. Every now and then I'll switch out dabbing for, maybe smoking a couple off the pipe, or, I'm not a super heavy smoker, and I'm not a real heavy user at the end of the day. Maybe compared to others, but compared to what I used to take,
right,
this was 3 50 milligram edibles a day, and dabbing and vaping and all that. So, after doing that for a while, I started recognizing that, okay, maybe I'm feeling a little more tired than I want to feel, so then I backed it up a little bit.
Sure.
And I just kept doing that until I felt amazing. And then I've just kept it with that. And by amazing, I don't mean that every day is great, and I don't mean that I'm in perfect health.
Sure. You're not a robot.
It does help my perspective, my attitude.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like what you talk about. Josh, there is a such thing as over-medicating.
Absolutely. I'm a big proponent in a sweet spot. I think we all have this little bit of sweet spot that our ECS is kind of asking for. And when we hit it, you know it.
Yes, I agree.
Unless it's 420.
Right. Well.
Or the weekend, possibly.
We like to call that taking the edge off. But no, I mean, Kayci, what's funny is I find more and more people that delve into their medicine as far as really medicating throughout the day. They literally will find at the end of the day, and when they find that sweet spot, that their intake is far less than they thought it would be. One,
right,
and they end up understanding these methods of ingestion to be able to go, hey, I'm going shopping, so I only need a dab, or you know what I mean,
or I need 2 dabs.
Well, exactly. Or hey, today has been a terrible day, and I want to go to bed early. I'm taking 2 of those edibles. I really want it to knock me out. But understanding that medicine, one, I think you take less of it, and you take it more effectively. And again, now we're kicking out that stigma of what are you doing? Just sitting around smoking weed all day, eating Funyuns?
Right.
No, I'm actually starting businesses. James runs a magazine.
Yep.
You know,
we're actually truly medicating.
Right.
And we are using this as medicine, and we are functioning in this society. Some of us, more so than others. And
I have to tell you, I've stopped looking, the high that I looked for my whole life. That high that I would have died for it, I no longer, I don't look for that. And if I want that, I'll go skydiving. You know what I mean? But I'm not looking for the high anymore, because the high only leads to a low, and that only leads back to a high. And so
I can't wait till I can get there.
Medicating properly and backing it up at all, it's just been so much more effective just on my everyday who I am, I'm saying.
But to me, that goes back to the one thing that cannabis is always trying to do with the body is just trying to create homeostasis. It's not a high and a low. It's, I just want to feel like I'm supposed to feel when I wake. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm just telling you what I want.
Right.
Just listen.
Right.
Stop being so stubborn.
Right. You could turn the brain off for just a little while.
It's like whenever I play golf, just stop swinging the club. What?
Yeah, exactly. Do less.
Don't swing it hard. It'll go further. Oh, yeah.
That makes complete sense. But no, I mean, it is funny that that's kind of where, and I know that like your journey, I don't mean to say that your journey has ended, but like, and when like what you were talking about, like how we come to present day is you really have come full circle with cannabis, and you've really honed in on what works for you. And I love hearing that because, like I said, you're actually taking less. You're using layering methods to where you've kind of found that sweet spot. And you, to me, I think that you understand it better than any other medicine that we really take throughout our lives.
I totally agree with you.
You're a testament to people that you don't necessarily have to listen to what everybody else is telling you that you should be taking, including your, it doesn't matter who it is.
Right.
Okay.
We have to ask questions,
you need to find out. You need to educate yourself. You need to really, really ask yourself serious questions and listen to your body.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
And me and James looked at each other through a point in your story when you started talking about your medicating regimen, and it's happened almost every single time on this show is you wake up and you take that you do that self-checklist. You kind of see what I need for the day as opposed to just waking up and going, well, it's 50 milligrams today. It's the same as yesterday. That's not the way this works. It's to me, cannabis in the ECS is supposed to fill in gaps. It's kind of like brick and mortar. It's supposed to go in there and just be the glue. It's not supposed to be the brick.
Right.
It's just supposed to go in and fill in where we have those gaps. And I love that you do that. Instead of waking up and just drinking half of the tincture, you ask yourself, how am I feeling?
No.
Right.
Well, there are those.
Those are for Sundays, James. We've talked about this. That's the half a bottle of tincture day.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Now, I have to say, if I get up and I happen to come out and try to interact unmedicated, totally unmedicated, yeah, it's not my best moment. I'm going to just say, it's like, whoa, I got to rethink this whole thing here.
Oh, yeah.
Everything
You
is just
ever
better in my life. I can think better.
Do you ever get back in the car after a conversation? You're like, what the hell just happened? Why? What did I say?
Right.
Yeah, that's when you're just the messenger, man.
Yeah, it's like
You
a
just opened
total
up to the
freak out
message, you
moment.
allowed
You
it
became
to
an
come out.
avatar at some point.
Right.
And
Yes,
you hope
yes.
that you didn't cause any damage.
Right. Or that they just, hopefully they forget the conversation happened.
I just like to think that that's somebody else making use of like a message that needs to be spread that isn't of me. I'm
Right.
open to allow that message to come through for whoever needs it at that moment, and that happens sometimes.
More of like an AM transmitter.
I'll leave that conversation and think, what the hell? I don't even know.
but it
wasn't meant for me to know.
But seriously, I mean, it leads back to you're really trying to be yourself. You are really trying to be yourself, and you're using this as medicine so you can go and have those conversations with people, so you can function in society, so you can do business deals, so you can go to work, so you can take care of your children, so you can do whatever it is that you need to do to function in this society. Some of us, if we do not have that, we are not ourselves. We are not the people that we can be.
Sure.
I mean, it's not even people that we can be. I'm sorry I even said that. I don't mean
We're not
it
our
like
best
that.
selves. We're just not
exactly.
our best selves. I mean,
We're not us.
Right. Well, and for a lot of people, I mean, that's what cannabis is. It's not this miracle. It's a quality of life thing.
Right.
It's being able to start where everyone else starts that day.
So it's not just. I'm not talking about people that are addicts or people that have problems. We're talking people that anxiety issues.
Right.
I'm sorry. This is a miracle to me.
Right.
yeah, yes,
Right.
it is.
But
But there's so many other things too that it addresses. I mean, this one book that I have read from front to back, it has 100 tabs sticking out of it. I mean, this book is probably educated me on most of what I know right now, and that's saying a lot. I mean, I've put a lot of hours into educating myself on cannabis, and it's called The Survivor's Guide to Medical Cannabis. It is an amazing book. Damn, it's thorough. There's a lot in there. It addresses all kinds of health. I mean, way more than I could talk about, and
Sure.
just it's an easy way of understanding the details of how miraculous this medication is,
Yeah, and there's so many books out there for people to pick up and just educate themselves. And anyway,
now apps out there, they're obviously podcasts and things like that. But it's nice to see
it's all available.
Right. Well, and it's nice to see that there's a lot more information out there now that's looking into the benefits of cannabis. We've all seen the negative stories. It is. It's great, and hopefully that's what this podcast does is put a positive light on it, because that's what we're here for. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you guys have been fun to talk with today. I've enjoyed the hell out of it.
Are you sure about that?
I hope we helped somebody. Yeah, I hope that somebody heard something that they needed to hear.
Absolutely.
I mean, really, that's why we're here. I mean, we just want to learn from people like you.
Yes. I mean, that's why I'm not dead. That's why we aren't dead.
Yeah.
It's because we still have messages to share. We have people that really need to hear them. And, one other thing I like to say, because this is becoming more clear to me than ever, is, there is somebody for every single demographic. So even if it doesn't look like they're doing it right, what I know is they're doing whatever it takes to get through to that demographic. So whatever it takes, the message has to be spread.
That is a very good point.
The judging of how other people are doing it is, it does, there's somebody for everybody to help, to learn from, it doesn't matter who it is or what,
It doesn't.
And it won't always look the same way as ours.
It doesn't matter what economic, background. It doesn't matter. I mean, people have issues and people need help. And so that's, That's my belief.
Right.
And Josh, I know it's yours too, and it doesn't matter. We know that there are people out there that need help, and that's hopefully, what people will get out of this podcast from people like you. And do you have anything else?
No, Kayci, I just wanted to say again, thank you for sharing your story. We appreciate it, and thank you for being a cannabis advocate that you are. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate what you guys do, too. Keeping the word out there, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And to our listeners, if you feel that this podcast is something that would benefit others, please consider the possibility of changing someone's life that may be in need. Please share our podcast. This podcast is for the patient. This podcast is for information purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. Thank you, everybody, so much for sharing the podcast. If you rate us on Facebook, that actually helps us get past the algorithm that Mr. Zuckerberg likes to put up to not allow us to reach people in need. That would help us. If you would just share, that would be great. And Josh, always a pleasure.
Absolutely, James. And Kayci, thank you again. Everyone, have a great week.
Yeah. Talk to you guys later.
Bye-bye.